Imagine discovering a long-lost letter from the Roman governor Pontius Pilate, the man who presided over the trial and crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Now picture that this letter doesn't just recount the events surrounding that fateful day, but also reveals astonishing details about Jesus, details that were never recorded in the Gospels. What if Pilate himself described the miracles of Jesus, his trial, and even hinted at his resurrection? What if this letter also painted a vivid picture of Jesus' appearance, his presence, and the cosmic events that unfolded during his crucifixion? In this extraordinary story, we will journey through Pilate's own words as he wrestles with guilt, fear, and awe, providing us with a unique glimpse into one of the most significant moments in history. Prepare to explore a narrative that bridges faith, history, and mystery, a story that continues to captivate and inspire across the ages. Imagine for a moment that the Roman governor Pontius Pilate regretted his involvement in the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. What if he had written a detailed letter to the Roman Emperor Tiberius, not only outlining the trial and crucifixion, but also sharing vivid descriptions of Jesus' physical appearance, miracles, and even hints of the resurrection? What if this letter, preserved throughout the centuries, provided insights not found in the canonical Gospels? This episode delves into that very letter, an astonishing document purportedly written by Pilate, containing revelations about the life and appearance of Jesus that have captivated scholars and believers alike. The letter opens with a formal greeting from Pontius Pilate to Caesar Tiberius, describing the arrival of a remarkable figure in Judea, a man named Jesus Christ. Pilate introduces Jesus not as a political threat or a common rebel, but as a man of great virtue, widely regarded as a prophet of truth. He acknowledges that while the people of Judea had accepted Jesus as a prophet, his own disciples believed him to be none other than the Son of God. Pilate's tone shifts as he recounts Jesus' ability to perform miracles, including raising the dead and healing various diseases. Pilate refers to Jesus not with the disdain often associated with political criminals, but with awe and respect. One of the most striking portions of the letter is Pilate's detailed description of Jesus' appearance. Unlike the Gospels, which provide little detail about what Jesus looked like, Pilate describes a man of tall stature and beautiful countenance, with a demeanor so striking that those who looked upon him were said to feel both love and fear. His hair, Pilate notes, was chestnut-colored, shining like ripe grain, and it fell to his ears. However, from his ears downward, the color became more Eastern, darker, and his hair curled slightly, resting upon his shoulders. Pilate adds that there was a part in the middle of Jesus' head, following the custom of the Nazarenes. Pilate's description continues, noting the smoothness of Jesus' forehead, unblemished and unwrinkled. His face was radiant, and his skin bore a subtle reddish hue, symbolizing both his humanity and divine grace. His nose and mouth were perfectly formed, and his beard was full, matching the chestnut hue of his hair, though it was not overly long and had a slight parting. His eyes were perhaps the most arresting feature, gray, bright, and full of life. They sparkled with clarity and intensity, yet when he spoke, his tone was humble, measured, and full of wisdom. His gaze could be terrifying when he reprimanded, yet gentle and sincere when he conversed. Pilate observed that although no one could recall seeing him laugh, many had witnessed him weep. His body, according to Pilate, was perfectly proportioned, and his hands and arms were gracefully crafted, adding to the beauty of his presence. This portrait of Jesus, as described by Pilate, offers a rare glimpse into the man behind the miracles. It humanizes him while preserving his divinity, creating an image of a figure both relatable and awe-inspiring. The description in Pilate's letter offers more than just physical details. It provides an emotional resonance, portraying Jesus as a man who commanded both reverence and affection. His beauty, Pilate implies, was not merely physical, but spiritual, a reflection of his divine nature. After this detailed description, Pilate shifts to the events that led to Jesus' crucifixion. He recalls the jealousy of the chief priests, who sought to have Jesus killed out of fear that his growing influence would disrupt their power. Pilate admits that the high priests brought Jesus to him, accusing him of blasphemy and insurrection. When Pilate questioned Jesus about his identity and the accusations, Jesus responded with a calm humility, answering with profound statements such as, "My kingdom is not of this world, and I am the way, the truth, and the life." Pilate acknowledges being deeply moved by Jesus' answers and admits that he found no fault in him. He recognized that the charges brought against Jesus were based on envy rather than legitimate wrongdoing. Pilate recounts how he tried to avoid condemning Jesus, even offering to release him as part of the Passover tradition, but the crowd, urged on by the religious leaders, demanded his crucifixion. Pilate describes his internal struggle, noting that his own mind was tormented by the decision he had to make. Fearing a revolt from the people and feeling pressured by the Jewish leaders, Pilate ultimately ordered Jesus to be crucified, but not before washing his hands in a symbolic gesture of innocence. As Jesus was led to Golgotha to be crucified, Pilate notes that extraordinary events began to unfold. He describes how darkness covered the land at midday, and the sun seemed to disappear from the sky. The stars shone brightly, and the moon appeared blood red. It was as though the entire universe was mourning the death of this righteous man. Pilate describes how the earth trembled and graves opened, with many of the dead rising and appearing to people in the city. These apocalyptic signs deeply disturbed Pilate, confirming his belief that Jesus was no ordinary man. Pilate's remorse becomes evident as he recounts his own actions during the crucifixion. In an almost confessional tone, he admits that he was overwhelmed by guilt and sought to distance himself from the responsibility of Jesus' death. He hastily took water and washed his hands before the crowd, declaring, "I am innocent of this man's blood." Yet, despite his attempts to absolve himself, Pilate knew that he could not escape the gravity of what had transpired. The guilt of condemning an innocent man weighed heavily upon him, and in his letter to Caesar, he expresses a foreboding sense that this event would have far-reaching consequences, not only for Judea, but for the Roman Empire itself. One of the most intriguing parts of the letter is Pilate's allusion to Jesus' resurrection. While Pilate does not explicitly state that Jesus rose from the dead, he does mention strange occurrences following Jesus' burial. Pilate describes rumors circulating about Jesus' body disappearing from the tomb. There were reports that his disciples had seen him alive, and Pilate admits that these accounts unnerved him. He speculates that Jesus may have indeed returned from the dead, a thought that fills him with both fear and awe. Pilate's letter hints at his growing belief that Jesus was more than just a man. He acknowledges the possibility that Jesus' death and reported resurrection might signify a turning point in history. Pilate's reflections reveal his anxiety about the future of the Roman Empire, suggesting that he feared divine retribution for his role in Jesus' death. He writes that the gods seem to have turned against Rome in recent times, and he worries that the crucifixion of Jesus might have been the catalyst for these events. Pilate's tone throughout the section is one of dread, as if he believes that he has unwittingly set in motion a chain of events that could alter the course of history. One of the most captivating aspects of Pilate's letter is the detailed description of Jesus' physical appearance. In an age without photography or portraiture, such detailed descriptions were often included in letters about important figures to ensure that future generations would recognize them if encountered. Pilate's depiction of Jesus stands out because it is one of the few detailed accounts of his appearance from antiquity. Scholars have long debated the accuracy of this description. Some have argued that Pilate's account of Jesus having hair of a chestnut color and a well-formed beard contradicts popular artistic depictions of Jesus as having darker features more typical of Middle Eastern people. Others have suggested that the letter's description of Jesus might have been embellished by later scribes to make him appear more European. However, the letter's vivid details, from Jesus' chestnut-colored hair to his radiant face and perfectly proportioned body, provide a unique image of Christ that contrasts sharply with the sparse descriptions found in the Gospels. In addition to the letter, there is also archaeological evidence that confirms Pilate's existence. Discovered near Caesarea Maritima in Israel, the Pilate stone is a piece of limestone bearing an inscription that identifies Pontius Pilate as the prefect of Judea. This artifact, known as the Pilate Stone, is one of the few physical pieces of evidence that confirm the historical existence of the man who ordered Jesus' crucifixion. The Pilate Stone inscription reads, "Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea, has dedicated this Tiberium to the divine Augustus." This inscription not only affirms Pilate's historical role as the Roman governor of Judea, but also sheds light on his connection to Emperor Tiberius, to whom the letter about Jesus was addressed. The discovery of the stone provides a crucial link between the biblical account of Jesus' crucifixion and historical evidence of the Roman presence in Judea during that time. The fact that Pilate is mentioned both in the Gospels and in this archaeological find adds credibility to the accounts of Jesus' trial and crucifixion. The combination of these sources, historical, biblical, and archaeological, paints a more complete picture of the events that led to Jesus' death and the individuals involved in it. Pilate's letter also reveals the difficult political situation in Judea at the time. He writes about the constant unrest in Jerusalem, describing it as one of the most difficult cities to govern. Pilate feared an uprising and noted that he had only a small number of soldiers to maintain order. This fear of rebellion likely influenced his decision to crucify Jesus, as he sought to appease the Jewish leaders and maintain peace in the volatile region. Pilate also expresses frustration with the lack of military support from Rome, hinting at his growing concern that the Roman Empire was overextending itself. His letter reflects a broader anxiety about the future of the empire and his own role in its potential decline. This sense of political instability adds another layer of complexity to Pilate's decision to sentence Jesus to death. Pontius Pilate's letter to Emperor Tiberius offers an extraordinary glimpse into the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus from the perspective of the Roman governor who presided over his trial. The letter provides vivid details about Jesus' appearance, his miracles, and the events surrounding his crucifixion that are not found in the canonical Gospels. It also reveals Pilate's internal struggle, his fear of rebellion, and his growing sense of guilt for condemning an innocent man. While the authenticity of the letter has been debated, it remains a fascinating document that adds depth to our understanding of the historical and political context in which Jesus lived and died. Combined with the archaeological evidence provided by the Pilate Stone, this letter offers a unique perspective on one of the most significant events in human history. In the end, Pilate's letter is more than just a historical curiosity. It is a reminder of the profound impact that Jesus' life and death had on those who encountered him, including those who, like Pilate, were torn between the demands of power and the stirrings of conscience. Whether Pilate's remorse was genuine or merely political, his words have echoed through the centuries, offering a rare glimpse into the heart of a man who stood at the crossroads of history. As we reflect on this letter, we are reminded of the enduring legacy of Jesus Christ, whose life, death, and resurrection continue to inspire and challenge people around the world. Pilate may have tried to wash his hands of the matter, but history has forever linked him to the story of the Savior, the man whose beauty, both inside and out, transcended the world and changed it forever. To understand Pilate's dilemma and the context in which Jesus' trial and crucifixion took place, it's important to look closely at the turbulent political landscape of Judea during this period. Judea, as a province of the Roman Empire, was a powder keg of social, religious, and political tensions. The Jewish population, fiercely proud of their religious traditions and independence, had long been uneasy under Roman rule. Pilate, as the prefect, inherited this difficult task of governing a region that was notoriously hard to control. Pilate's letter to Emperor Tiberius mentions the challenges he faced in governing Jerusalem, which he called the most difficult city to rule. This characterization is no exaggeration. The Jewish population frequently clashed with Roman authorities, and insurrections were common. Pilate's predecessors had faced similar difficulties, and tensions between Roman occupation forces and the Jewish religious leaders were constantly simmering. For Pilate, the presence of a charismatic figure like Jesus, who was attracting large crowds with his teachings, posed a potential threat to the fragile balance of power in the region. Adding to Pilate's fears was the fact that he had limited military resources. In the letter, Pilate laments the inadequacy of his forces, revealing that he had only a single centurion and a small group of soldiers to maintain order in Jerusalem. This severe lack of manpower made him particularly vulnerable to uprisings and rebellions. Pilate had requested reinforcements from the Roman governor of Syria, but had been informed that there were no additional troops available. This shortage of military support likely played a significant role in Pilate's decision-making during Jesus' trial. Adding to Pilate's fears was the fact that he had limited military resources. In the letter, Pilate laments the inadequacy of his forces, revealing that he had only a single centurion and a small group of soldiers to maintain order in Jerusalem. This severe lack of manpower made him particularly vulnerable to uprisings and rebellions. Pilate had requested reinforcements from the Roman governor of Syria, but had been informed that there were no additional troops available. This shortage of military support likely played a significant role in Pilate's decision-making during Jesus' trial. Pilate's letter not only discusses the political challenges of governing Judea, but also reflects his evolving understanding of Jesus as more than just a man. In the letter, Pilate acknowledges that he initially viewed Jesus with suspicion, fearing that he might be a revolutionary intent on stirring up the people against Roman rule. However, after listening to Jesus speak and observing his behavior, Pilate's fears were quickly dispelled. He notes that Jesus seemed more like a friend of Rome than an enemy, speaking not of rebellion, but of a higher spiritual kingdom. Pilate's description of Jesus' teachings, particularly his famous declaration, "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and unto God what is God's," shows that Pilate recognized the wisdom and depth of Jesus' message. This teaching, which encourages obedience to secular authorities while maintaining one's devotion to God, would have been particularly appealing to a Roman governor like Pilate, who was constantly seeking ways to balance the demands of imperial rule with the religious sensitivities of the Jewish population. Pilate's letter also reveals his growing fascination with Jesus' character. He describes Jesus as a man of unparalleled wisdom and dignity, someone who, despite his humble origins, spoke with authority and commanded respect from all who heard him. Pilate was struck by Jesus' composure during his trial, noting that he answered questions with calm humility, never showing fear or anger, even in the face of death. This demeanor, combined with the miraculous stories surrounding Jesus, left a lasting impression on Pilate, leading him to wonder if Jesus was truly divine. One of the most compelling parts of Pilate's letter is his admission that he found Jesus' teachings to be unlike anything he had ever heard before. Pilate compares Jesus' sayings to the philosophies of ancient Greek thinkers, noting that even the most learned philosophers could not match the profound simplicity and truth of Jesus' words. This comparison is significant because it suggests that Pilate, a Roman steeped in the traditions of Greco-Roman philosophy, recognized the uniqueness of Jesus' message. In doing so, Pilate subtly hints at the possibility that Jesus was not just a great teacher, but something more, perhaps even the Son of God. As his disciples claimed, Pilate's growing respect for Jesus and his internal conflict over the decision to crucify him are evident throughout the letter. While Pilate ultimately bowed to political pressure, the letter suggests that he was deeply troubled by the role he played in Jesus' death. His reflections on Jesus' wisdom, humility, and divinity add a layer of complexity to his character, portraying him not as a one-dimensional villain, but as a man grappling with the weight of his decisions. Another fascinating aspect of Pilate's letter is his indirect reference to Jesus' resurrection. While Pilate does not explicitly claim that Jesus rose from the dead, he does acknowledge the rumors that began circulating shortly after Jesus' burial. Pilate writes that reports of Jesus' empty tomb and sightings of him alive after his death quickly spread among the people. These rumors, Pilate admits, filled him with fear and awe, as they seemed to confirm what Jesus had said during his trial, that he was the way, the truth, and the life. Pilate's letter reveals his growing unease as he contemplates the possibility that Jesus had indeed returned from the dead. The cosmic phenomena that occurred during Jesus' crucifixion, the darkness at noon, the earthquake, and the resurrection of the dead, had already shaken Pilate's belief in the natural order of things. Now, the reports of Jesus' resurrection added to his sense that something extraordinary had happened, something that was beyond human understanding. Pilate's fear is palpable in the letter. He writes of being haunted by the thought that he had crucified a divine being, and he expresses concern that this act might bring divine retribution upon Rome. Pilate's reflections on the resurrection highlight the deep impact that Jesus had on him, even after his death. For Pilate, the resurrection was not just a rumor, it was a terrifying possibility that forced him to confront the limitations of his power and the reality of a higher authority. The letter suggests that Pilate, like many of Jesus' followers, was deeply affected by the events surrounding the crucifixion and resurrection. While Pilate may not have fully understood the theological significance of Jesus' resurrection, he recognized that it marked a turning point in history, one that would have far-reaching consequences for both Judea and the Roman Empire. One of the most significant pieces of evidence confirming Pilate's existence and his role in the crucifixion of Jesus is the discovery of the Pilate Stone. This artifact, unearthed in 1961 near Caesarea Maritima, is a block of limestone inscribed with the name Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea. The inscription was part of a dedication to Emperor Tiberius, confirming Pilate's role as the Roman governor of Judea during the time of Jesus. The Pilate Stone is one of the few physical pieces of evidence that link the biblical accounts of Jesus' trial and crucifixion to historical reality. Prior to its discovery, much of what was known about Pilate came from the Gospels and the writings of the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus. While these sources provided valuable insights, the Pilate Stone offered the first concrete proof that Pilate was not only a historical figure, but that he held the position of power attributed to him in the New Testament. The stone's inscription reads, "Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea, has dedicated this Tiberium to the divine Augustus." This dedication reflects the Roman practice of honoring the emperor through public works and monuments, and it also highlights Pilate's connection to the imperial power structure. The Pilate Stone confirms that Pilate was in charge of Judea during the period in which Jesus lived and was crucified, adding further credibility to the biblical accounts of these events. The discovery of the Pilate Stone was a major archaeological breakthrough, as it provided a tangible link between the New Testament narrative and the historical record. It also offered new insights into the governance of Judea under Roman rule, shedding light on the administrative and political challenges that Pilate faced as he tried to maintain control over a volatile region. In addition to the Pilate Stone, other archaeological discoveries, such as coins and inscriptions, have helped to paint a fuller picture of Pilate's role in Judea. These artifacts provide important context for understanding the events of Jesus' trial and crucifixion, as well as the broader political and social dynamics of the time. Together, they form a compelling body of evidence that supports the historical authenticity of the New Testament accounts and confirms Pilate's pivotal role in one of the most significant events in human history. Pontius Pilate's letter to Emperor Tiberius offers a unique perspective on the trial and crucifixion of Jesus, one that humanizes the Roman governor and reveals the complex political and personal factors that influenced his decision to condemn Jesus to death. While Pilate has often been portrayed as a heartless bureaucrat who cared only about maintaining his own power, the letter suggests that he was a man deeply conflicted by the events unfolding around him. His growing respect for Jesus, combined with his fear of rebellion and lack of military support, created a perfect storm that led to one of the most momentous decisions in history. The letter also provides a rare glimpse into Pilate's thoughts on Jesus' resurrection, a topic that has fascinated theologians and historians for centuries. Pilate's admission that the reports of Jesus' resurrection filled him with fear and awe suggests that he recognized the profound significance of what had taken place. Even if Pilate did not fully understand the theological implications of the resurrection, he sensed that it marked a turning point in history, one that would have lasting consequences for both the Roman Empire and the world. Finally, the letter. Combined with the discovery of the Pilate Stone and other archaeological evidence, offers a powerful testament to the historical reality of Jesus' life and death. While much of what we know about Jesus comes from the Gospels and early Christian writings, these physical artifacts provide crucial confirmation of the key events described in the New Testament. They serve as a reminder that the story of Jesus is not just a matter of faith, but is also grounded in historical fact. In conclusion, Pontius Pilate's letter to Emperor Tiberius, whether fully authentic or not, provides a fascinating window into one of the most critical moments in human history, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The letter not only offers rare details about Jesus' appearance and teachings, but also sheds light on the political and social dynamics that led to his death. Pilate's internal conflict, as revealed in the letter, adds complexity to his historical legacy, portraying him as a man torn between the demands of empire and his conscience. The combination of Pilate's letter and the Pilate stone provides compelling evidence of the historical reality of the events surrounding Jesus' death. Together, they confirm that the trial and crucifixion of Jesus were not just religious myths, but actual events that took place in a specific time and place under the authority of a Roman governor named Pontius Pilate. Ultimately, Pilate's role in the crucifixion of Jesus has ensured that his name will forever be linked to one of the most significant events in human history. While he may have tried to wash his hands of responsibility, history has not forgotten his part in the story of Jesus. And as we reflect on the contents of his letter, we are reminded of the profound impact that Jesus' life, death, and resurrection have had on the world, a legacy that continues to inspire and challenge people of all faiths and backgrounds to this day. As we come to the end of this fascinating journey through the words of Pontius Pilate, we are left with a deeper understanding of the complex forces at play during the trial and crucifixion of Jesus. Pilate's letter offers us a rare glimpse into the mind of the man who struggled with the weight of his choices and the power of Christ's presence. This story not only brings us closer to history, but also reminds us of the lasting impact of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, a story that continues to resonate today. Thank you for joining us on this remarkable exploration. If you've been captivated by this story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the mysteries of faith, history, and the figures who shaped our world. We have many more extraordinary stories ahead, filled with surprising discoveries and timeless lessons. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and may the light of truth continue to guide you. See you next time.